Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk more about the North and South nodes, but we're going to talk about them in signs this time, in specific signs. So we are going to talk about them on the Leo Aquarius axis. Now, again, what I'm about to say does not mean that if you have, say, if you got like the South Node in Leo or the South Node in Aquarius or whatever, just use what I'm about to say as a way to get your own mind working, creatively, intuitively, all of those kinds of things. What I'm saying may not fit you exactly, does depend on the full chart, but you can use what I'm about to say to get your own creativity working. So anyway, let's start. So, okay, let's say you are coming from, let's say you're coming from your South Node in Aquarius. And here I'm not focusing on the houses, just the sign. And for here, you know, the South Node is, if you want to think about it from a past life lens, it is how you were comfortable functioning in a past life. If you aren't comfortable with the past life thing, you can think about it like it's how you're comfortable naturally functioning in this lifetime. It's how you're comfortable. So a South Node in Aquarius, you probably tend to feel different, I would imagine. You come into this life different. Perhaps you come into this life a little more eclectic. Perhaps you come into this life. Okay, so there is a correlation. You don't have to think of it like natural rulership, but there is an affinity for the 11th house in Aquarius. There is. Aquarius does deal with groups. It does too. It does deal with that. So as a how, you know, just being more, perhaps you just were more group focused. Perhaps the groups that you felt that you were a part of were alienated in some way. This could have been a sense of pride for you, or it could have been a sense of it could have bothered you. The rest of the chart might kind of show, if that's the case, how that played out. Aquarius South Nodes, because there is such a feeling of being different, coming into this world different. Sometimes there can be kind of a hang up with that. Like not feeling like they can express themselves any other way. Not feeling like they can be around people that aren't like them. And I'm careful when I say that, because it's not like it's not necessarily from a non-accepting place, because Aquarius is really very accepting. It really is. But there could just be a natural not wanting to move away from a group or a group identity that they're comfortable with, or that you're not wanting to move beyond that. Something like that could be going on, or even just too much identity found through other people, through that group. All of those. Sorry, I just knocked my thing over. All of those are possible. So stupid. Sorry. All of those are possibilities when you're looking at a South Node in Aquarius. all of those things. But depending on exactly how that plays out or what exactly that looks like, you would also want to take into account both. And I would, depending on what rulership you go by, if you go by traditional rulership, you'd want to be looking at where Saturn is. If you go by modern rulership, you'd be looking at where Uranus is. Really, I think it's, in the case of Aquarius, Pisces, and Scorpio south nodes and north nodes, you get more of a chance to flesh out the story further because you have more planets to work with if you use both rulerships. I would use both. But you might be inclined to only use one or the other, but yeah, you could totally use both if you wanted to. But yeah, where those planets fall will give you an even better idea of what's going on in terms of the South Node in Aquarius. Also, one other thing with the South Node in Aquarius, you might be looking at okay, I'm not ragging on it. I like rebellion personally. I do. But there can be too much of it. There could be kind of a hang up with it. Perhaps something too much of it. There's just too much of it for some reason, and you're not actually able to get anywhere because of it. That's also possible. So now we would be looking at the North Node in Leo. So, okay, separating yourself from groups, from things like that, and growing more into your own sense of ego and your own sense of being a person, an individual person, is very highlighted here. Not feeling like an individual because of the groups and other things that you're a part of, but because of who you are and what you bring to the table yourself. This is definitely the way that my mind would start moving with a Leo North Node. Absolutely. Needing to be seen, needing to be noticed is something else. Not just, the Aquarius South Node, because sometimes just feel like they're another cog in the wheel for their cause, for their group, for their friends, what have you. The Leo North Node needs to know that they are more than just that. They are their own person independent of that. That's usually incredibly important. Learning how to grow into being bolder. Leadership is another thing that seems possible with a Leo Leo North Node, needing to grow into some form of leadership. Again, the entire chart would help flesh this out. And in the case of the Leo North Node, you'd want to look at where the sun is in the chart. It would give you an even better idea as to how you should actually flesh this story out. But these are some ideas. Okay, so let's flip it. Let's say you have the South Node in Leo. South Node in Leo. Okay, and so in this case, we'd be looking at where the sun is by sign and house to help flesh this story out further. But maybe you're coming from a previous lifetime or most comfortable functioning through your ego. This is going to sound more negative than I mean it to be. It might sound more negative than I mean it to be, but there might be some ego hangups. That's always possible. Perhaps there's too much boldness, too much leadership. all of those seem possible because, again, with the South Node, I mentioned this before, we want to veer towards the more challenging things by sign and house. Same thing with where the planetary ruler falls by sign and house. We kind of want to veer towards the more challenging things, generally speaking. So, there's an association, obviously, with Leo energy and royalty. This may be actual royalty or not, but perhaps there is something with that from a previous lifetime lens, if you want to go with it that way. I'm not necessarily saying that if you have your South Node in Leo that means that you were royalty in a past life. There's lots of royalty, though. You know, there's actual royalty, and then there's perhaps just living or being born, you know, having lived in a prominent or wealthy family. That seems possible too. It's also possible that perhaps there is some form of fame or being known for something. And we can be known for all kinds of things and not actually be famous, you know. But perhaps you were. All of those things seem possible with a Leo South Node. Now, here with this one, we'd have the North Node. We have the North Node and Aquarius. So with the North Node and Aquarius, this person was looking to grow into being more, perhaps relying more on a group of people. Perhaps shedding the ego some. That may or may not be the case, but it would depend on the rest of the chart. But perhaps shedding the ego some and moving more into an Aquarius way of handling things, which isn't quite so ego driven. Not quite so. Perhaps if you were, say, coming from a previous lifetime where you were well known for something, perhaps you, I don't want to say blend in because that's not really right. Aquarius doesn't really blend in. But perhaps you didn't want to stand out on your own. Perhaps you didn't want that this time around. Perhaps your long-term plans and hopes and wishes. Perhaps you really wanted them to come to fruition in this lifetime. And other people are somehow involved in this. Perhaps there is some kind of rebellion that needs to happen. This probably would have something to do with the ego, I would think. A rebellion from the ego, maybe. Being able to embrace your own differences also seems important. That definitely seems important. Being able to embrace the different, the eccentric, all of those kinds of things seem like they would be important with an Aquarius North Node. And again, you'd want to look at where Uranus and Saturn are to help flesh out the story even further. So I'm going to get going because this one was longer. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I am at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Abaturno Astrology on Instagram. If you're watching this on Instagram and you want to find us on YouTube, you can search for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, you can come find us over on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, you can go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.